Welcome back to Close Up. Republicans have a unique task in 2026, but one with which they are quite familiar over the last few years, defending majorities in the governor's office at the State House while trying to mix some red into that all-blue federal delegation. There's a new leader at the helm for the NHGOP this cycle, and he joins us this morning. Jim McEachron, thanks for coming in.
Good morning, Adam. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Yeah, so I think the big question for any party leader right now is, the party that controls the White House tends to have a tougher midterm election. It's just the way that it is. So do you feel like you're going to be on offense or defense in 2026?
Well, we're going to be very offensive, but with a defensive strategy, right? So we're going to come at it from the perspective that we do have the ability to win, and we're there, and it's a winning strategy. We're going to create a good infrastructure. We're going to roll with that. We're going to roll with what we have. And quite frankly, on many of the issues, 80-20 issues like immigration, taxes, we're on the right side. The gender issues with men and women's sports. So we're going to stick with those issues because they resonate with the people, and we're going to go with that. So from that perspective, we'll be on the offense. From the other perspective, we'll have a ground game in there to defend what we have.
A lot of attention in 2026 is going to be on that U.S. Senate race. It looks like right now the Democrats are all lining up behind Chris Pappas. He has proven very difficult to defeat. I think the last time that he lost was in 2010, a county-level race. Every election cycle since then, he's managed to win, whether for executive council or for Congress in the 1st District. What is the playbook to defeat this guy?
Well, basically, we're going to go after his record. I mean, Chris has a very well-established record. He's a nice guy, but he's going to have to run on his record. And his record is clearly, I've never seen a tax I don't like. He is on the, men and women's sports side of the issue. He's all for the immigration policies of the Biden administration. So he is on the 20% side of every 80-20. And that's what the Democrats play on. Apparently, in their mathematics, 20% is bigger than 80. On the Republican side, 80 is bigger than 20. You go with the majority and you respect the minority. And we're happy to have him run on his record because he's on the 20% side in 80-20 issues.
Does it look like Scott Brown's going to be the guy, or do you expect a robust primary on the Republican side?
Well, I expect a robust primary. I expect there'll be some other people getting in. I mean, obviously, Governor Sununu has said he's not getting in. Scott Brown is making all the overtures that he will be getting in. But I suspect there'll be some other folks involved.
Chris Pappas is a challenge no matter what. The silver lining here for the Republicans is he's not running in the 1st District. Is this the cycle where Republicans are finally going to flip this seat back to Republican?
Absolutely. I firmly believe that. I mean, we've got a good solid majority in the House, good solid majority in the Senate, obviously Governor Ayotte, and we're basically going to take from those playbooks from last year and build on those successes. And, with respect to the federal seats, utilizing the playbooks that Governor Ayotte and Governor Sununu used, they won statewide offices. So it's not that we can't win a statewide office, we just have to use the winning strategies of people that have done it. And we'll be able to implement those, and that's what we're doing at the GOP now. We're looking at what was done right with the governor's office over the past several cycles, what we did well for the Senate and the House, and we're all working collectively together. Myself and Senator Carson and Sharon Packard, Governor Ayotte, we're all forming a team and we're working as one right now. So there's a very unified party, and doing that and looking at our successes and, quite frankly, learning from where we made mistakes and then moving forward.
You've got, I think, Joe Kelly-LeVasseur's looking at it, Chris Bright, both ran the last time around. Who else is on that list? Who do you want to see run in CD1?
I'm open to have anybody run. I mean, it's an open primary. Anybody's welcome. There were clearly some good candidates last time. So we'll see what happens. As a primary goes on, obviously the NHGOP does not get involved in the primary process, but it's open to all, and I think there's some excellent candidates that are going to come forward.
We see a lot of Democrats coming out of the woodwork either to run or consider running in the 1st District. It's been a little more cautious on the Republican side. Why is that, do you think?
Well, it's still very early, right? I mean, Chris Pappas made his announcement early, and rightfully so. So that gives a little headroom for the Democrats, and the Republicans are just being a little cautiously optimistic at this point.
But you see an advantage to press in that district?
Yeah, absolutely. I see this as a huge advantage to us right now because of the successes we've had, right? You look at what the House is doing, what the governor's doing, what the Senate's going to be doing with the budget. We have a lot of successes to line up. So there'll be a good story to tell for whoever runs in CD1.
How about the 2nd Congressional District? Lily Tong Williams is running again. She's going to be formidable if there's a primary on that side. You know, the big struggle in the 2nd District has always been getting the National Party to come and invest there. How do you convince them that that is a race worth investing in, something they haven't done really since the Charlie Bass era?
Well, it's a matter of showing them the demographics, showing them the numbers, right? This is really a numbers game, obviously, and by sitting there and focusing on that and focusing on the ground game that we're going to put in place and the support that the candidates are going to get from the NHGOP, we're really building a ground-up structure this time. We're literally going to every city and town between myself and Vice Chairman Holly Novaleski. We're literally attending meetings every single night. And we're going to build that grassroots. We're expanding our communications network. We took advantage of having a lot of people involved last time, right? More Republicans registered the day of the election than Democrats. It was a huge effort, and that came a lot from the Trump Force 47 folks. So we want to capture that and keep that going, keep that momentum going, and build from the grassroots up.
You know, we talked about sort of Republicans being a little bit more tepid in CD1. On the flip side of that, we don't see any Democrats right now talking about running for governor or, more importantly, and closer on the calendar, running for mayor of Manchester. What does that tell you about those candidates or those people in office and those races?
Well, that tells me that Governor Ayotte and Mayor Rui are in a good position. I mean, they're obviously doing the right things. People are very much, you know, they're looking at it like, wow, they're going to be a tough act to follow. So both Governor Ayotte and Jay Rui are solid. I believe they're both going to get in fairly easily again the next time because they're doing the right things. They're talking to the people. They're talking about the issues. They're going through sanctuary cities, illegal immigration, education funding. So they're on the right side of all those issues. And I think people, quite frankly, are just looking at the numbers saying that's a tough race to win. So why do it?
Yeah. Circling back a little bit to the U.S. Senate race, you know, if we do see a situation where it's just Pappas on the Democratic side and potentially a long and potentially bloody primary on the Republican side, do you want to see the legislature act to move the state primary date up to June so that situation can get resolved earlier than it usually does in September?
Whatever happens, I will support it, and the GOP will support it, and we're going to do the right thing and get behind the candidate that wins that election. It's somewhat irrelevant right now, and it's going to be based on the candidates. We are going to have a very strong candidate for the U.S. Senate, Governor, Congress. So quite frankly, it doesn't make any difference to me when the primary is. We're going to win.
We're a long way out from 26 right now. A lot of times these midterms are all about the president and are all about the economy. Do you think President Trump will be an asset in 2026 or a liability for Republicans?
I think he's going to be an asset. I mean, a lot of people are, you know, a little skittish right now. But quite frankly, it takes a good leader to take bold actions when you need to. I mean, President Trump's not looking at the polls right now. And that's bold leadership. He's paying attention to what needs to be done to put the country on the right path. And he's doing that. And as he said, you know, we're going to have some tough times and we got to move ahead. And it will come out on the right side.
All right, Jim McEachron, the new NHGOP chairman, thanks for joining us on Close Up.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
All right, and we'll be right back with Governor Kelly Ayotte on the showdown between the White House and the courts over the man mistakenly deported to an El Salvadorian prison. Stay with us.